weapon at all times. You will know if an alternate exists solely based on their physical characteristics. If you see another person that looks identical to you, run away and hide. If you see a person that has a biologically impossible characteristic, run away and hide. If one manages to break into your home, refrain from any kind of communication or contact with the threat. These intelligent life forms utilize elements of psychological warfare to take advantage of their victims. While we heavily discourage any form of contact or communication with an alternate, we make exceptions for attempts at executing them yourself.
Hey,
Hey, I just had that running just to.
are we
while I
live?
fixed- Yeah.
Oh,
Just while,
I
just while
thought
I
we-
set up.
How's
I've
it
been
going?
having a rough time. I'm so disorganized. It's like I was thinking to myself, like, I can't possibly be more disorganized than I already am. And then I did it. I
You
did
did it.
myself. Yeah.
It's all right. Life happens.
Now I have this weird thing. I have this I get this cough whenever I'm pregnant. I was actually sick, but then I also have this other cough. And every time I cough, it triggers a nerve in my hip.
In your hip?
And and it feels like I'm being stabbed. And this happened with my son too. And now it's just worse with this pregnancy. I feel disabled.
You've had a rough couple months.
Yeah, it hasn't been good. But I'm proud of the poster for tonight's call-in show. Let me update the caption here. It is indeed 7:30 Central already. So here's the number. Yeah, it has been something else. We have people who, all sorts of folks in the chat.
Do we?
Yeah. People are
On
here
Substack?
on Substack, yeah.
There we go. Okay. I don't know what was going
on. All right. So tonight's theme is the Mandela Effect, which feels very appropriate because I'm also having this weird thing where I can't remember anything, just at all. Just forgetting. I'm forgetting weird shit. I I forgot what Wuthering Heights was called. It's really not obscure a podcast name or something. Just stuff marquee things that you're being assaulted with through advertising every single day. And I'm just sitting there and in my room what, that movie, who's that actress? I mean, it's like,
Are you a Mandela Effect believer?
I don't know what to make of it because there's a few of them where I'm like I feel it. I almost kind of buy the timeline shift thing. I'm almost there.
It's a wild one to be all in for.
Yeah. And there's just I think some of them are not understanding media history, not appreciating, with the Fruit of the Loom one, right? I don't think people appreciate the way knockoffs or misprints in books and newspapers can impact our memory. And there's a sense of oh, well, newspapers and books pre-internet were inherently reliable. I think whether or not we consciously know that we're thinking that way, I think a lot of people do. So that's part of it. I was looking at there's one Mandela Effect thing. It's the Monopoly man had a monocle, right? But
Mr.
all of
Peanut
the
has a monocle. I think that's
all
what
of
they
all of
used.
well, but also all of the residue. So the residue is what they call like, oh, the timeline shift, happened, but like some stuff got left here. A lot of that is like knockoff products. Like all of the residue for that particular one was in Chinese, and it's like, oh, it just was like a misprint in Chinese that somehow trickled out.
Or the Chinese just didn't get a full move over on the new timeline.
Or sure.
They,
There
they probably weren't playing Monopoly. The engineers didn't pay enough attention. There probably weren't a ton of copies. They didn't get a full code review before that push.
Sure.
There's a few. I'm not the Mr. Peanut thing. I think people are confusing Mr. Peanut with Monopoly on the monocle, because Mr. Peanut has the monocle.
Right.
But there's the Fruit of the Loom thing actually makes a lot of sense to me. I think that one I've seen people post photos of the cornucopia with the fruit, and
I
I've
remember
never,
it too.
yeah, I remember that one. The Pikachu with the tail is a weird one.
Yeah.
The Mandela himself is a weird one. I remember him dying.
No, I didn't get that software update.
You didn't get that one?
No, I didn't. That one I didn't experience. A lot of them I did. There's like weird little ones too that I'm like, I can't possibly be remembering this. I wish I had some like off the top of my head that I could cite.
Berenstain Bears.
Now that one I also feels like just that one feels like it could be explained away.
No, that one's the most real.
No, that's the least real one to me.
Berenstain is so much better. It rolls off the tongue. There's no way they went with Berenstain. It's not nearly as
I've never seen that spelling out in the wild either. Well, they're not.
Really? You didn't read
They're
those
not.
books?
No, I've never seen the spelling of stain over like
Yeah, it's weird.
AI over EI. Maybe
Yeah,
they're like subtly sending them the message that the Berenstain Bears are not Jewish.
they're definitely Jewish. Berenstain.
That's
Berenstain
why they
is
spelled
better.
it that way.
I think they got hijacked. I think they used to be Berenstain.
Yeah,
We have a caller.
it's Nathan.
And I wasn't gonna spoil it.
Hello, Nathan.
Caller, you're on the line.
Guys. Hello, you guys have picked an awesome topic for the night. Hold on one second. Okay, I have friends here picking up water because their water can't get delivered up their driveway. So my dogs are going a little bit wackadoo. Hank has been a good puppy, but he likes to bark at everything except for when there's actually something here, and still there's something here. So it's been interesting with this new little blue heeler. He is the cutest thing in the damned world, though, let me tell you what. He's just the cuddliest and best. But sorry about that. This whole, man, I was in on the Mandela Effect years ago because I remember when my buddy Joe, when he was going to school in my little hometown in Northwest Missouri, little fucking, the K through 12 is like 400 kids, man. We're talking a town of 600 people-ish. So he specifically remembers writing a report on the death of Mandela and Mandela dying in prison. And like, that always screwed with me. And I remember like, we would be getting high back in the day, and this was like, he was 17 or 18, so like 2007, 2008-ish. And we'd be getting stoned talking about this shit. I'm like, no, dog, Mandela definitely did not die in prison. Mandela definitely, like became president of South Africa, and, it was great. And then he was like, no, I wrote a report on it, and it was very insistent. Then we Googled it, and, he's seen what was up, but was very insistent upon he wrote a report. The one that screws with me is the Forrest Gump one. Because I remember Forrest Gump. I remember every line in it. My parents dragged me to the theater 4 times. 4 times we went to the theater to go see that movie. I remember it was a cultural touchstone. If you was a teenager, if you were like 12 to like fucking 25, like this was a cultural thing in the 90s. It was huge. Even my church, the Methodist church that I was going to, all went as a church to go see it.
What's the one with Forrest Gump?
said,
I don't know that.
Like,
I don't know the story around that.
So supposedly he says life was like a box of chocolates all the way through the movie. Now there's a couple of times at the end when he's dying, he says life was, but like the thing is that he says life was like a box of chocolates. And I specifically remember at the very beginning of the movie, and I know I have the DVD.
He dies?
Because when I watched it on Netflix, it says was. But I know it was life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Like, this was huge. I remember it. I'm not misremembering things. The Fruit of the Loom thing, I specifically, like my mom, that's crazy that you're in my brain, Catherine. God darn it. Like, that one freaked me out because I literally just posted that in the chat. You're like, the Fruit of the Loom. I'm like, oh my God, this ticks in my head. I ate too many. I ate a couple of grams of mushrooms this afternoon, so I thought that you might be in my head.
You ate a couple of grams?
But that one, a couple of grams of mushrooms. Yeah, it's just that's a microdose for me.
It's crazy.
So, and I have an abundance at the moment. So, I can kind of, this weekend I plan on taking 28 grams and dissolving them into like 6 ounces of lemon juice and chugging that to have a actual, like, I need a reset. I recently lost my third wheel, so I had to stop cutting rocks until I get this third wheel in the mail. And I'm back up on my things. I'm like, man, I just need a good reset. I'm going to eat an ounce of boomers and see what happens.
Have you seen those companies that are like, I mean, they're definitely illegal, but they're still kind of allowed to operate where they're mailing out microdoses to people?
Are they illegal?
I've heard about it. I've heard about it.
Gray area.
The thing about mushrooms is they're completely legal until they're fruiting. The fruit is illegal, but I can send you non-fruiting mushrooms in the mail, and nobody can say shit about it. I can send you spores in the mail. Like, that's the only thing that is illegal is the psilocybin-bearing fruit, which are the dried mushrooms. Until they actually start popping the mushrooms, they're completely legal. So no, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like in that legal gray area.
I don't trust that because I don't trust anybody. I'm too old. I don't buy hallucinogens. If somebody's trying to sell me hallucinogens, they're probably a piece of shit. Shit's not meant to be sold. You don't make money off that. If you're trying to make money off that, you're a piece of shit, and I don't respect you. Flat out. Like, it's meant to be given by God to communicate with God. Like, I'm very passionate about those, especially like psilocybin, DMT, your natural plant-derived hallucinogens. And you shouldn't make money off those. That's morally bankrupt, and you're not in it for the right purpose. And you're going to fuck with people. Because if you introduce the idea of money into things, especially things that are supposed to be spiritual, i.e., look what happened to religion when you start introducing money into things. Like, people get corrupt, and then the juju goes along with that stuff. All the stuff that I take anymore is made by people that I know, that not only do I know, I completely trust and love. That's the most important part.
Since you're highly experienced, let me ask you a question. So we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, but it's been a while now. What do you make of those stories of people that abuse DMT over an extended period of time being blocked access to visions?
I think it's hilarious because that's why you can't abuse it.
Do you think it's real?
That is why. Yeah, I think it's true, and I think it's correct.
Well, the strangest thing is that they from the scientific, it's minimal, but from the scientific research they have, it doesn't look like it's a tolerance thing because once it happens, they can raise their dose 100x and it doesn't change.
No, because it has nothing to do with tolerance because you're communicating with God. You're communicating with something outside of yourself that is way bigger and way more intense than most people could imagine. And that can just choose not to talk to you. Like, I mean, you can smoke all the DMT you want, but if the spirit doesn't want to talk to you, you're shit out of luck, son. You fucked up.
Have you
You fucked up.
have you messed with the I don't know if you've seen this online where people get a laser and they point it on the wall and then they can see if they're on DMT, they can look into the laser beam and they'll see like a code inside of the red light?
I don't screw like the visuals that I get, not having true sight, are all within my. I don't know. I don't have proper words for it, so I'm just trying to explain it how I understand it inside me. When I see stuff, it's not even in my mind's eye because I'm not. Especially with like DMT, I really like DMT. I've used a lot of it. I've tried to abuse it, and I've gotten shut out of the game. And then I had to have a little reset with myself, asking why I was doing it. And I wasn't trying to seek information. I wasn't trying to make myself a better person. I was trying to get high. You don't just to get high off of. You want to get high, go snort coke. Go smoke some meth. Go get high. This is fucking spiritual evolution. Like, it's a whole other thing. That's why I really get irritated when people try to make money off that. Same with mushrooms. Like, mushrooms come, when that breaks down in your brain, it's 5-MAOI DMT. Like, you know, that's what the psilocybin is unlocking. It's unlocking that part of your third eye that allows you to connect with what makes us truly human.
Well, let me kind of rope it back into the Mandela effect because you said that.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. It all connects actually because I've seen and I've talked to people that used to be addicts of meth and cocaine and stuff, and they describe at kind of the end stages of their addiction that they would encounter beings there as well, but they were inherently dark, and they also shared a lot of characteristics with other people that had the same encounters. So I guess the question is like, if the Mandela effect is real, it can only be a few things. It's dimensional shift. The world is a matrix. Nothing is real. It's a simulation. Do you think drugs across the gambit are a means to access the true realm? Like, what is even the true realm? Like, do you think all of this is fake and we're just like meat bags slightly bumping into like the shadows of what is above and below us?
True is a weird word to use because is it true or unseen?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, it's Catherine.
Well, I want to push back on true because I would say I don't like the framing of true or real, you know? Like, there could be multiple planes of existence or parallel universes or both. That's crazy. That's something actually I've thought about. Like, if multiverse theory is real, right? Like the popular conception of it, you know, where people think there's like parallel timelines, then are there parallel astral planes?
How could there not be?
Parallel heavens, you know.
I mean, how could there not be? If this is not all just a simulation, if we are not all just in the matrix and we're all not just, you know, we're all just NPCs, whatever, if this is quote unquote real and we're points of attention having an experience, then how could there not be? Because I always understood from what I was taught with weirdo theoretical physics is every decision that can happen is made. Like Schrodinger's cat in the box, you know, is the cat dead or alive? It's both. We don't know until we open the box because the future's undetermined. Well, who knows? Maybe the future is a little bit determined. I do think so. On amphetamine psychosis is real. That is a real thing. People do really see demons. Some of it is through psychosis, but then I do believe some of it is, man, until you've been in a crank house up for about 14 days, butt naked and fucking for 7 days straight, snorting hot rails off of titties. I mean, you haven't seen the depths that amphetamines, whether it be cocaine, crack, meth, whatever, any amphetamine, a fucking stimulant, whatever, they're the same. But until you've actually experienced that, it definitely lends itself to the lower vibrations, yes, sir. And when you start fucking around with the lower vibrations, you're gonna get lower vibration entities. You start fucking around with a better class of drugs, and you start actually getting spiritual and leaving those lower vibrational devices alone. You can actually start to progress in your understanding of what life is. I'm not sure what this is. Sometimes I think it's fucking Matrix. Sometimes I think, man, that whole thing with the Time Travel Research Institute and Dr. David Anderson, like that whole shit. The governments are giving him billions and trillions and billions and quadrillions of dollars to fuck with time. Somebody's fucking with time.
Who's this? I don't know. Who are you talking about?
It was he was interviewed on Art Bell way back in the day, and then I caught
2007
into an old Art Bell. David Anderson, I think is his name. He used to run the Time Control Institute. He actually, like, we have video proof. Go watch it on the David Anderson Institute, I think is the website. You can watch all his videos. They're controlling time. This is I don't understand why people don't fucking like. This is public knowledge that's out there. Art Bell talked about it. People have talked about it on the internet, but nobody's actually saying, hey, well, we know what he's showing is we're fucking with time. That can't be good, man. Like, it's fucking with all of our brains. Seems why societies went shithouse crazy. You got the manipulation of time, then you've got the CIA running around fucking after, the Dulles brothers decided it would be great to use mind control on everybody. And how do we know that? We read the book Poisoner and Thief, and we literally see what's going the declassified files of, and this is what we know about. And if this is what we know about, what is really going on? That's what makes you ask questions. And I have no answers. Don't look at me for answers.
Yeah,
I just like to pose questions and think.
They didn't declassify it this week, but for some unknown reason, everybody's been acting like they declassified it this week. But that's been a big trending topic on X is Project Artichoke. All these documents. I don't even think they have any new documents. Most of that's been there, but that's all the early stages MK Ultra. What became MK Ultra later.
Yeah, and I mean how that Gottlieb dude bragged about fucking hanging out with Charlie Manson. This dude was a psychologist and giving fucking Charlie Manson LSD to go create his armies. I mean, and our tax dollars paid for that, brother man. Our tax dollars paid for it. We did it. And it's like, hold on a second. Why? Is all of this, what's going on? And then you look at the proliferation of social media, and I'm enough to remember how the internet was told to me in the early 90s, the mid 90s, and the late 90s to the early 2000s. And from basically 1990 to like 2000, I was told as a child, it will revolutionize your life. No one's going to have to do menial labor jobs. It was already getting us as a generation, the last of the Xers or the beginning of the millennials, fucking getting us prepared for this crap. And then you can just look at it down the way. And then in 2000, it's becoming a marketplace. And it's just a little change of words. But we went from a sphere where it was the Wild Wild West to where we decided to monetize something to make money off of it. Then we get rid of Glass-Steagall. Then we have the big fucking housing crisis and the tech boom and all that crap. Like, Jiminy Christmas, if people would spend like half, not even all the time of their stupid social media scrolling bullshit on stuff that doesn't matter, on actually consuming history of like real history, like go look at the documents of what it says that the government did. If people would just do that for half the time that you spend on the internet judging other people or like commenting on shit that has no relevance in your own life or taking a picture of what you ate, then we might have an educated public. But why did we get the internet the way it is? To have an uneducated public.
You know what's weird is...
All right, guys, I know I've ranted for a lot. I've been on the phone for 18 minutes, and I ain't trying to take up the whole show.
Well, nobody's on the line, so if you want to stick around...
I keep confusing people by by dying and coming back to life. Like,
I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, I was gonna say, it's weird, and this is part of the reason, me and Kat were talking about the theme this week, and this has been on my mind, not necessarily the Mandela effect, but I think like the idea of memory has been on my mind a lot because of these Epstein files. They
Oh yeah.
well, what's weird about it? It's the most bizarre thing. It's like the super conspiracy. It's collapsed it all into one thing. It's like the amount of crap this dude touched is just incredible. And it's so incredible that it almost feels like this can't be real. It's like, was he emailing 200 people a day to touch every single person on Earth? I mean, it's just like,
Why not?
I don't know.
All the people that truly run the world are sick individuals. Why would?
here's my question: which
if you
Nathan, you might actually have the answer to this.
Democrats drank baby's blood, I would have made fun of you. It ain't off the table right now. Wait, how do you know what to believe? I want it all unredacted, all of it. There should every picture. This is so deep and so big. I'm sorry, victims don't have rights when it comes to this. Everything should be everything should be out. This is if this is true, and let's take it with a grain of salt or whatever, because I don't know if it's true or not. We got a lot of lies going on, and with the modern day CIA and manipulation, who knows what's real? But let's say this is true, then this is the largest conspiracy hatched ever.
And Michael Tracy on the line.
All these rich fucks are players in it. And why can't we have a 1780s style revolution? We just get out the gallows, start taking 100 heads at a time. Like,
brother, I can't. I won't survive a revolution.
Why not?
The most interesting thing that I've seen is John.
We have more power.
No, I mean, brother, I live in like a mansion and don't have a job. Like, I'm not surviving the revolution. I'm the first group of people. No, I'm the second. I'm not like 1% rich, but like I'm like, if the revolution touches Chicago, I'm out of here. They're killing me.
If you ain't got 50 million to bank account, you ain't shit, lady. Sorry, you ain't rich. Even in your little bullshit, that ain't rich. I've been in a 150 room mansion. Those people had money.
I'm getting it. If there is a French Revolution style event in Chicago, I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm not.
Are you the proletariat?
No, they'll kill me.
Okay, then why would you be dead? If you're not the proletariat, why, or the bourgeoisie? I'm sorry. If you're not the bourgeoisie, then why would you be dead? If you have nothing to worry about, you're not the DuPont, dude.
Let's get back on theme here. We don't need to harass.
Oh, one other real thing, real quick about the Mandela effect. I don't know if this is the Mandela effect, but they are changing history in books. My homegirl Heidi, who has a PhD, who ain't a conspiracy theory, who makes fun of me for being a nutball, has bought books off of Kindle and owns the physical copy, and little things are being changed.
Oh, I
don't know if
that's been going on for a while.
Accident, but they're changing our goddamn history.
That's been going on for a while. I quit using my Kindle like 7 or 8 years ago. The most interesting theory that I've seen on the Epstein stuff was John Kierkegaard, that guy. He's the CIA agent who was made famous because he was the lawyer for Guantanamo Bay. His theory was that the reason they didn't want to release it is because it was potentially like a load-bearing pillar for the entire economy, because he was touching so much crap. Like it would expose too much that it would potentially put like the entire financial system at risk, which sounds preposterous, but it's like,
how does that sound preposterous? The Dow is at 50K. Do you remember? No, you weren't born in the 80s. In the 80s, the big joke was, I mean, we said it to everybody. Donald was talking walnut. Ted Koppel. Ted Koppel used to say, "I'll believe that when the Dow breaks 10K." That was a thing. At 50K, these numbers aren't real. Jeffrey Epstein laundered money for everyone in the world, from drug dealers to pedophiles to baby eaters. Like, because if you want to move money since none of you guys have ever dealt drugs or tried to launder money, like, I don't know if you understand how difficult it is to move millions of dollars in cash that ain't clean. It's not easy, and not everybody does that.
Well, he
It's
got
only
out.
a handful of motherfuckers that are laundering the dough that's keeping all these corrupt fucks in business.
Well, I think
So, you take out one of the dudes that's laundering the dough, and then the whole financial system collapses because it's all propped up on fake crap.
I think that's certainly what he was.
It's not real.
Yeah, I think the salacious kind of stuff. I don't think people assume that it's blackmail. I don't think it is. I think it's catering to taste. I think that's the taste. So he offered it, and it's a loose form of blackmail. But I think his primary role was that of money laundering. It's the scope of it, because I mean, it's like even small things like the I don't know if y'all remember the Squatty Potty, that viral product from Shark Tank. Do you remember that, Kat?
Where you put your feet up to poop.
Yeah, so that guy got arrested this past week for child porn.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is so, like, that his product is a toilet.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, he got arrested for child porn and some sort of sexual, like, I don't know, rape or something along those lines. But he's in the Epstein files.
Well, I would be curious to find out if that Don King Jr., not the fight promoter guys, so don't freak out thinking I'm saying that dude, but the Don King Jr., that whole thing, loss of innocence in Omaha, where they went in and no one would prosecute this man because it was in the late 80s and early 90s, and it turns out he was like, he had a fucking room in a child hospital where he used to take kids and rape them like babies, like 4-year-old girls, and rape them. And no one would sing out and believe anybody because he was a black guy. Well, it turns out that he had connections into Offutt Air Force Base. Like, how I know that this was real is my uncle ran base security for Offutt Air Force Base during Operation Looking Glass, rounding up the fucking bikers in the Air Force that were fucking transporting meth. Like, so I know this to be real on that aspect. If we know that was real back then, and this dude was running a saving loans up in Omaha, giving quote unquote poor disadvantaged people cheap loans in order to fuck their children, why wouldn't he be tied in with Epstein later down the line? Was Epstein the first guy, the last guy, or the middle guy?
Well, the thing that's so striking to me is this dude was involved. His career opener is Iran-Contra, but he's involved with the minutia of reaching out to the guy who runs Squatty Potty. It's like the multitude of his access. The reason I this comes back to the Mandela effect is it feels like a simulation to me. The magnitude of all of this and the overlapping of it's like the information is so strange that it makes you feel like a lunatic. And I have like a decade steeped in lunatic corners, and it's the first time that I've been like, this doesn't feel real at all. This feels like a bad script.
I got 30 years, 3 decades steeping in this, and trust me, it doesn't get any better. You know what I've learned on all of this? All of this throughout my 47 years of life and just dicking around with weird shit and meeting people and running around the country doing what I do. You can't change anything until literally throughout history. And from what I understand, the only time people will ever do a mass change is if you affect their money, or you can round up enough scoundrels and get enough dirt on them. You just have a mass execution. And that's the only way we get change. I mean, so I don't even try. It's all fascinating. It's now more, for me, it really is just more informational and thought exercises because I'm a nerd and I like to learn. And I personally want to seek some truth in my life. Like, that's why I still fuck with it, because I'm still looking for my personal truth on, well, what do I believe on some of this stuff? Because I knew as a teenager, I just can't ignore this stuff. It's right in my face. And I know I'm blind, but come on, now I can see some of this crap. I don't understand why some of these sighted people can't see it either. It just, I don't know, man. Now I'm stoned and rambling, and I've been on the phone for 30 minutes. Somebody else, please call. I love you guys.
Wait, Nathan, before you go, I have one last question, because you might be the guy that can answer this. Being computer early stage computer and a psychedelic guy. So are you familiar with Seymour Cray, the one of the early engineers of computing?
Yeah, they designed the Cray 1 and Cray 2 and the Cray 3s that were our supercomputers that we used for the NSA and the CIA and like the keyhole satellites. Yeah, I'm very familiar.
Yeah. Okay. So he was the guy who basically designed the supercomputers that ended up starting the CIA. But famously, he took psychedelics when he came up with it, and he said that the elves beneath his house helped him develop this technology. Do you think that in some strange kind of destiny sense, as we approach AGI, as we approach the leverage point where it has more leverage on us than we do on it, is that why all of this stuff came to light? Because it feels like a broken piece of code. And that's a loaded question, but it's like it feels like there's an overlap there between it's like tapping into the superstructure that may have been like downloaded to us through some sort of substance. You know, Steve Jobs famously was a psychedelics guy.
Everybody in that area in that time, you know what the PCR is, the polymer chain reaction, how we got DNA tests and how we got the mRNA vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who invented that?
I used to, but I don't anymore.
Research that guy and read his book, Dancing Naked in the Minefield. And read about how he thought, how he got his information to even come up with the idea of the PCR test. He was high on mushrooms with an 7 at aliens. So there's got to be something, dude. All of those people, Steve Jobs, all of those people were either messing with mushrooms, LSD, ibogaine, you know, all sorts of different crazy. They were friggin' eating, they were getting high on LSA, eating Hawaiian Woodrow seeds. Like, you know, you eat 5 Hawaiian Woodrow seeds, you're going to have a hell of a little fun time. You know, they were all doing that. They were all getting the same kind of information, but we all, as a culture, this was all brand new. We didn't have mass media. Like the people that were using hallucinogens at that time, like for spiritual purposes, were shaman. They were people, not us. They were not white European people. You know, they were people that were in plant-based medicine. That wasn't us. We'd know about this until, you know, the late 60s and early 70s when Terrence and Dennis McKenna went down to South America and wrote Brotherhood of Screaming Abyss. Like, there's some other good stuff. You want to read some real intelligent people that took more hallucinogens than I could ever imagine? Terrence and Dennis McKenna. They're amazing.
Yeah, they're interesting. Man. Well, there's that clip that's like going around Instagram now of Terrence McKenna just saying like things are going to get weirder and weirder until reality breaks apart.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're there.
What do you call it? Time wave 0? Yeah.
It feels like we're there.
I mean, part of it is like a perception thing.
Something's happening. I mean, I'm too old. I'm too old to. I've seen all of this change and all of this build for so many years, just building upon building upon building. At some point in time, something stupid is going to happen. Something really, really, really stupid is going to happen, and something major will come of it because it will be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Something has to happen soon. Things cannot continue upon the rate that they're going and have humanity exist, I would say. I don't know. But now I am done for real. I love you guys. 32 minutes is enough. Rufio, Miss Eliza, get your asses on the goddarn phone and call. I want to hear your voices, weirdos. All right. You guys are great, and I'll speak to you next week.
Thanks, Nathan.
Here's a mystery in my life. Who first broke or started talking about Jeffrey Epstein? Because I heard about him in high school.
I think it was Alex.
I don't believe that for a second. Well, maybe it was. I wanted to ask Nathan that, but he was sort of riffing on his own. I feel like he would have the answer to that.
I'm almost like I would bet my bottom dollar it's Alex. I mean, who else? The period with which he starts his official public career starts in 1987, right? That's like his first launch. That's when he starts working for the CIA. Who else would have it wasn't Art Bell. Art Bell didn't touch it. Alex was
Right.
the only person around. It was
That's
it was a much more collapsed environment.
He wasn't the only person around. Let's see if ChatGPT knows. Deep research. Who was the first person to break the Jeffrey Epstein story? I was in high school. So this was pre-2010. And I remember hearing about the Lolita Express. I remember it so vividly. I was in my pool. And I forget who told me this, but someone told me in my swimming pool, and I was like, that's really disturbing. Because this was like I was young enough to just be disturbed by the concept of sex, period. But it definitely was like high school. It was like early high school.
It's gonna tell you like that lady that did early reporting about like Alex Acosta. They're not gonna go into the.
No, it will. I'm gonna pull up. I'm gonna
So
ask Claude. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT, and then let's see.
so Alex, according to Joe Rogan, Alex told him about Epstein in 2006.
Maybe it was, because that's a timing.
I bet it was. I mean, those early Alex years, people forget how before he was drunk a lot, he was really lucid, and he used to go read all of those documents and stuff, and he had like CIA informants. I think he still does, but he was breaking a lot of stuff. But the problem was that he was saying like they're pedophile vampires on an island. You know, he was
Interesting. The first Epstein story broke on March 1st, 2006 in the Palm Beach Post, which was my newspaper. So,
maybe
okay. So that's,
you got a local.
yeah. Okay. Nathan just called back. Hello, brother.
Okay, so I put this in the chat, but since you're talking about it, you asked, like that would have been a great question, because the first time I I remember hearing that name in the 90s on Bill Cooper's Hour in the Time.
That's what I thought.
It would have been it would have been right around the damn time whenever Art Bell did you hear the story when Art Bell's kid got kidnapped by a science teacher, taken out
and molested
in the desert and raped and given AIDS?
Yeah, but that was in the 90s. That was like 2000.
No, but all of this that was would have been like 97-ish maybe. And I remember listening to Worldwide Christian Radio because WWCR carried Alex Jones and for a while carried Bill Cooper. And that was about the time that WWCR got into it with Art Bell and started seeing that Art Bell was producing child pornography in Las Vegas. And they got into the Worldwide Christian Radio.
And then he retired.
And a huge fight. But I remember Bill Cooper talking about this because he tied it back to Bill Clinton. He was talking about Bill Clinton, and he was making fun of Alex Jones in the Bohemian Grove thing because he was like, Alex Jones is the disinformation for Bohemian Grove because Clinton and all these other people are, sacrificing. They're really doing this shit, but you put a crazy guy out there and make it look insane, and nobody believes it. I remember listening to Shortwave and hearing Epstein in the mid to late 90s.
Bill Cooper would be the only person that I would say that would know that besides Alex. He was like, he knew some stuff. He was a legit.
Bill was in on it.
Yeah, I think Art was always an entertainer. Bill Cooper was a true whistleblower.
Well, I don't think.
Yeah, Bill Cooper was legit.
Art didn't really fuck with politics.
Like you said, an entertainer and great at his job.
Yeah, well, he was. I feel like it was more like personally. I think he was a cynic with the. Well, Cooper thought he was a Fed, but I think he was a cynic with the government conspiracy stuff. He entertained like Ed Dames and whomever, but I think he was interested in like spiritual questions ultimately because his best shows and his most because after Ramona dies, he's so much less engaged, but like. He's at his most engaged when it's like time travel, obviously, afterlife, near-death experience, which is why I am a bellhead.
Bill
Um,
Cooper's fun to
Well, I
listen
mean, one
to.
of the most powerful pieces of radio ever is the night that he went on the air after Ramona died and the sheriffs came to his house. If that doesn't, that's a human being a human. That was some of the most real, raw, relatable radio I've ever heard in my life. It was beautiful, and not in like, oh, I don't know. It was beautiful. It really, even as a kid, as a teenager, it struck me on how incredibly real he was. And that was the thing. Yeah, I think you're right. He entertained a lot of people, some of the stuff like that, whatever. And, some of the Lori, oh, what's her name? The Lori something or other. There was a few people he had on that you could tell he was just entertaining. But when it came to the serious stuff, he always said to look for him at the frequency of hydrogen, that if he could come back and talk, he would talk at the frequency of hydrogen. So, that was always the stuff that fascinated him. Madman Mike Markham, one of the first shows that ever really kicked Art off when he was 50 affiliates deep, was from my neck of the woods, and that crazy dude blacking out St. Joseph, Missouri, trying to build a damn Jacob's ladder to jump through. That interview is some of the best interviewing I've ever heard in my life. So I don't know, but I did want to say I believe I heard about it first in the late 90s with Bill Cooper tying it back to old Slick Willie.
Okay, I buy that. I buy that a little bit more than I buy it being Alex. We'll see what
I don't think it was
AI
Alex.
thinks.
Alex was too. By that time, he was too sensationalized. After 2004, basically, he was. I don't trust anything that he had to say. In the mid
Bill Cooper died in 2001.
Some of it wasn't.
But if Bill Cooper said in the night, I mean, Bill Cooper died in 2001. Alex really kicked off his conspiracy stuff
2005.
post 2001.
Alex kicked off in the mid 90s for nerds like me. He was one of the Infowars.com was one of I was listening to Infowars.com in 1997.
Bohemian Grove was 2000.
Baud modem at Missouri School for the Blind. Alex Jones was in there really early as well, but he was strictly at that point in time only on WWCR.
He did public access.
He did public access for years.
And he was I mean, he was just a pain in the ass Texas character. Bohemian Grove was 2000. Bill Cooper died in 2000. Bill Cooper was shot in 2001. Yeah. I feel like I actually found out. I keep
97, 98.
I keep finding out that people I thought were just these well-known figures, nobody knows who they are. I found out this week that not everyone knows who Bill Cooper is, and I also found out right before my dad passed away, I was going through all of Carlos Castaneda's books. Someone mentioned him in the chat. I found out that not everyone knows who Carlos Castaneda. I keep having this. I have this recurring problem no matter what I do, where I'm I don't explain what I'm talking about, and people are like, "What the fuck is going on?" Which I worry might be happening right now.
The shit that you're talking about, maybe 10% of the population even knows who those are.
Bill
you have
Cooper's
information
pretty.
in your nugget that not a lot of people have.
People know Behold a Pale Horse, but they don't know what it's like. They don't know who Bill Cooper is.
No. I don't think most people know that. I think there's conspiracy people know, people in our circle know, but most people don't know Behold a Pale Horse.
No,
not many people would know that. Articles of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion,
people know that.
Drop that on somebody. I mean, the only couple of people are going to know about that, and that's anti-Zionists and Nazis.
I think more people would know about. I mean, that has a long history, but Bill Cooper, I think, is pretty niche because it's his radio stuff you can't find anymore, and what you can find is horrible quality. People kind of know the book.
Yes, you can, but you guys got to stop getting off the internet and start talking to some more blind people. There's lots and lots and lots of blind people out there that still have audio tapes of original broadcasts.
Nathan, can you get those tapes from me?
I could probably work on that. Yeah, but yeah, man, I still have at my parents' house. I still have probably if I could still play them, I recorded every Art Bell show that I listened to for the first year. And that would have been, I was 11, so 1992.
Yeah, that would be.
Like, and I recorded them. I took them from, so what real nerds did back in the day is you took your audio tape and then you dropped it onto a 8-hour VHS tape. You ran the audio out of your tape player onto a VHS tape, and then that way you could get long form taping of audio. Or if you wanted to record Art Bell and not have to use multiple tapes, you just ran your audio into your VCR and then ran an 8-hour tape on extended play, and then that way you could pick up 2 shows.
If you could find
I'm
those
surprised
tapes,
you
that would
guys
be
don't know
incredible.
that.
Oh man, I barely caught VHS. I was still watching Disney when VHS came out.
VHS was
Yeah,
around
but you also
until
hang out with some old farts like me. Like,
were people using VHS until like 2005?
Really? My family was early. We did the DVDs and then we did Blu-ray. We were like a movie family, so we always upgraded.
We had a mix. Like we wouldn't like deprecate the old tech. We were just like it was just like cumulative.
Yeah, we'd upgrade. Yeah,
I had a conversation with my mom today. She was like, I don't even remember. I wish I remembered how this came up, but she was like, I never watched Oprah. And I'm like, if you never watched Oprah, how do I like have this encyclopedic knowledge of like Oprah episodes? Like I'm referencing like Oprah episodes from like 2002 in my writing like all the time. Like who was watching Oprah? Like I didn't get this like after the fact. I had to have been watching it while it was on. And she was like,
I was a 23-year-old white male and I was watching Oprah in 2000. I was a 23-year-old white male and I was watching Oprah in 2002. So no, I don't buy that. She was watching Oprah. Y'all
she was like that. She was like that was you would watch it.
She was watching Oprah, babe.
Like I would come home from school and of my own volition at like whatever, like 8 years old, go watch Oprah. And she's like, yep, that was you. Maybe.
That Oprah show ever. There was a dude who got shot by an entire town in northwest Missouri. It was Ken Rex McElroy. If you want to find a really awesome true crime story that is completely unsolved and will never be solved if the town never talked, this bully was murdered in northwest Missouri in a little town called Skidmore. And like 30 people were outside this bar, and this man had like 300 pieces of buckshot in him. The FBI came into the town, told their entire town, which was like, a couple hundred people, they were going to lock everybody up until somebody confessed. Everyone held their shit and they dealt with the bully. It's a great story. But then after that, Oprah had on the entire family, and that was one of her very first, like in the late 80s, early 90s, that was one of her first nighttime specials, was with the children of Ken Rex McElroy. And then Skidmore got famous a few years after that because that was the first place that a chick was said she was trying to sell baby clothes and then cut a baby out of a chick who showed up to buy the clothes.
And I remember that.
Missouri. Same small town.
Really? Same small town.
Yep. Same small town. So you really want to see some wild shit, read about that little town. They're like 300 people out in the middle of nowhere.
That's crazy.
All right, now I'm gone again. I'm going to get cooked dinner, and now I want to hear some other callers. I'll talk to you guys.
By the way, the first Epstein complaint was in 1996. So you nailed it. People have been talking about it for 30 years.
I know you've kind of not dived deeply into it. Do you feel like that about the files? Like it feels like a collapse of timelines or something.
No, because like the ultra wealthy, I mean, there's like a finite number of people, and you would be surprised who sort of gets roped in, like who's connected, right? Like we don't necessarily know their names, but they have status for whatever reason. They went to the right school, they know the right people. And I just assume people are like degenerate. So there's also that. I don't know. I'm like, no, I mean, there's only so many like wealthy perverts, right? So of course they all know each other.
I get it's not that actually doesn't surprise me. It's not the perverted stuff of them connecting. It's the breadth of the the official stuff. It's Iran Contra, it's UFO disclosure, it's everything. It's
I
potentially
like
9/11. Like, it's just weird.
I feel like all connected people know one another. Like all celebrities, all connected people know one another, like after a certain point. And these are the people who are architecting these events. Do you
Well,
know what I mean?
he was doing subprime mortgage trading, and he sold it 6 months before the crash. It's like,
What?
how did he know about the subprime mortgage? Like, I mean, like, obviously, he probably understood that it was, like, bad lending, but it's like, how did you know about the crash? How did you know when the bubble would pop? And maybe it's just luck, and it just, like, builds to the myth of who this man was, but it's like, it's just weird. The whole thing is weird.
I don't know.
Have you
I don't know
have you
enough
seen the
about.
prostate have you seen the prostate, things that have come out?
Oh, about the corpse? Yeah.
What do you make of that? For listeners who aren't familiar, his autopsy, they went over all of his different organs, and they describe his prostate, and they said it's a normal prostate. But in his emails, he is emailing with a doctor because he's having erectile dysfunction issues because he's had his prostate removed. So according to him in his own emails, he does not have a prostate, but on his autopsy, they are discussing his average size prostate.
I mean, I don't know. Here's something that's a little bit oddball that I'm surprised I buy into. I don't think that's Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. The
No,
pictures
I
don't
don't
look like
either.
it.
It doesn't look like her. Either
Like
that or they've
that's a
been
little
feeding her, like, casseroles every day for
or she has like a sickness and she's bloated, but I just like the only thing that gives you that as an adult woman that will give you facial changes like that is pregnancy, and she's obviously not pregnant. She's like in her 60s.
her sister. It came out today. There's a old CIA software that was very important kind of in the early 90s digitizing age of all of these different, agencies. Her sister helped found one of these software companies. It's like McGraw-Hill and CIA software, and it's just like, what's going on?
That's the
It's
kind of
weird.
stuff. Well, I also believe I would buy that they were intelligence.
Oh,
But that's
for
the
sure.
kind of stuff where I just feel like those kinds of sort of schizo connections just happen after a certain point in certain circles.
I think that's true, but it's just the amount. It's surprising.
Yeah. Like, yeah, this and the specific ones, sure.
The fact that he was in an Iran Contra just blows my mind. It's just, like, bizarre.
I don't know. I haven't looked into it that deeply.
So his first connection, so he, like, leaves, he's still at Bear Stearns at the time, and his first, like, outside connection is, who was Jamal Khashoggi's father? Remember the journalist who died? The
Yeah.
Saudi? His father was one of the most famous, arms dealers in the Middle East, and his first connection is helping that guy run planes for Iran Contra. It's just, like, nuts. I can't get any work done because I just, like, every day it's like a whole new rabbit hole, and I'm like, "What? How could this possibly be real?" And then you go look at the files, and it's like, it's there. It's just bizarre. And then Howard Lutnick just walking around. Did you Howard Lutnick, did you see how he got his home next door to Epstein? Howard Lutnick got his home, so he was next door neighbors to Epstein. Epstein originally owned the property. He bequeaths it to some sort of, charity type organization, and, within, like, a month, this charity organization had given the title of the home to Howard Lutnick for the price of $10. Um, and that's how Howard Lutnick got his brownstone in Manhattan. A $10 transfer of a title from Jeffrey Epstein through a trust, and he got it. And then they have that weird dentist room that Epstein has a mask that looks Dead ringer. Dead ringer. You can pull it up. Howard Lutnick, Epstein mask.
All right. Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, let me make sure that's the right.
It's the mask with the goatee.
Let me get a good picture to pull this up so everyone can see.
Yeah. Yeah. So this was in the Epstein room where he had the dentist chair and all of these masks hanging on the wall. And that's exactly how he looked in like 2001, 2002.
That's something else.
It's bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. I don't know. It's been on my mind. That Mandela effect, it's always been a fun thing for me. I've always like, yeah, that's stupid and just silly and fun. And, I'm surprised that we're not getting more calls because I figured this
I'm
would be like,
surprised too. Like people
I
have
thought it was
tons
going to
of
light up
things.
the lines. But this is the first time I've ever felt like I feel like there is some sort of like timeline collapse on stories where it's just like, it's like the super conspiracy. I mean, it's like it feels like some sort of skeleton key that's unlocked the whole thing, and it's like, can this like dude who's objectively not super intelligent, like you read it and you're like, this dude is retarded, and
No,
and
he doesn't seem retarded. It just seems like he doesn't know how to type.
he does not feel like a world shaking power. He seems like a run of the mill lawyer or banker or something. It's not like you don't meet him and you're like, wow, that guy is sharp. Like he doesn't read to me like that. The way he moves, the way he interacts on these videos, he reads to me like a pretty typical, 120
Yeah, but it's
IQ
not.
guy.
It's not being well networked. Being like a well networked intelligence asset, right, is not a matter of genius. You know what I'm saying?
I don't. I know what you're saying, but it doesn't feel like I would trust the skeleton key load bearing weight of conspiracy on a dude like that. You'd send it to like, I don't know, H.W. Bush, Dick Cheney, like like somebody who's like objectively high IQ and just like
It's clearly
cold.
discreet.
I guess I don't know.
All you need to do is know the right people, know how to talk to them in their language, which doesn't really require intelligence. Be discreet. I'm such a cynic with this stuff. I feel like every time it comes up, though, I'm like, I just like, a lot of very wealthy people aren't smart.
Yeah, I mean that's true, but
It's like, do you speak the language required to get you in these rooms and stay in these rooms?
I just can't
That's a different
imagine.
skill set. Like think
Yeah.
here's like a weird way to think about it. Like popular kids in high school, they're not necessarily the smartest. They're like they reach like a bare minimum threshold. They cross a threshold of intelligence, but it's not the smart. And like I guess like in my school, like popular kids went on into those types of jobs, like consulting and whatever, what have you. It's not they're not the geniuses. Genius is rare. You get one genius. You don't even get a genius born every year. Like that's so rare.
I just can't imagine Steven Pinker and Epstein like vibing,
They vibe across
They're
other
vibing.
dimensions.
Yeah, vibe across.
Also, like the power of just like validating successful or intelligent people, like that's like you don't need to challenge them. I would even go as far to say as like you shouldn't challenge them. You could be interesting, but you don't have. But
yeah,
challenging is sort of a different.
Caller, you're
Hello.
online.
Hi, this is Tom. Really enjoying the show. I just had a couple of thoughts about the Mandela effect generally that has crossed my mind. I think this is something that Catherine alluded to early in the show when you all were talking about the Berenstain sort of dichotomy, I guess. I think a lot of things that we think of as examples of the Mandela effect are misremembrance based on the fact that the reality, let's call it, is something that seems wrong, seems odd. As she said, the name Berenstain, I've known people named Bernstein and Berenstein. I've never known anyone named Berenstain. So I think that there's sort of that facet of it. And the example I gave was, I remember one time, just a random stupid conversation with a friend where I pointed out that the cereal Captain Crunch, that Captain Crunch's eyebrows are actually they're part of his hat. They're on his hat, which is obviously weird, but it's a cartoon character. And he was like, no, that's not right. And I was like, so in your mind's eye, you're thinking about Captain Crunch. He's like, I am 100% sure that's not the case. Of course, we pull it up on the internet, and sure enough, it's there. So I think there's a large sort of swath of Mandela effect examples that are that kind of thing, where the reality seems wrong, and so your brain sort of corrects it. But to take a step back about the larger question, what I think is interesting about the Mandela effect, my mind is very open to the idea of all of the things you all have alluded to, the parallel dimensions, multiverse theory, all that stuff. But if it's not that, and this is something that I kind of has crossed my mind a bunch when I've contemplated this generally, if it isn't that, what if, for example, what we would call reality, so let's say that there is something that is objective truth, that if the humanity did not exist in the universe and there was some sort of God or robots or whatever observing and could perceive things with absolute certainty the way that they are, quote unquote. What if what we know as the Mandela effect is not, in fact, a reflection of a shifting of that reality, but rather is something that in some ways might even be scarier, which is it is a reflection of how susceptible and malleable human perception of reality is. Speaks again to, when you go down some of the conspiratorial rabbit holes, some of what has been done in terms of misinformation, disinformation, etc., because there is an understanding that if the human brain, the human mind, has the capacity to be pushed in certain directions such that it will adopt those directions, which are not reality, as reality, to the point that, in effect, it becomes our de facto reality. And that is why I think that the Mandela effect is so enduring and potent, because to the people who are affected by this, or the people who are sort of, let's say, in the minority on a particular issue, whether it is something frivolous like Fruit of the Loom or something more significant like a historical event, to them, they are as convinced of their reality as people who are, quote unquote, locked in on the objective reality are of theirs. So anyway, just a few thoughts. I
think you're right.
Sure.
I brought this up in passing, but I also think it's sort of like I don't know if media literacy is the right word, but like a lack of like understanding that a book can be wrong. You know, a newspaper can print the wrong information. It's not necessarily conspiracy or nefarious, but it's just like, yeah, you did find a newspaper clipping that mentioned XYZ event or printed whatever logo, but that actually isn't proof, which I think is like, maybe we knew that at the time when these were the dominant medium that we consumed information, but like I think the inclusion of like human error is somehow like it disappears from our calculus. I mean, you see this with AI too, right? Like a lot of like quote unquote AI psychosis, I think, is like less psychosis per se and more just people don't realize that like LLMs are wrong. It's like right. This just isn't the truth. You have to be more skeptical.
That's exactly. I think you're spot on, and I also think about it just in terms of sort of whether you call it human frailty or human bias or whatever label you want to put on it. Even taking it sort of out of the, I don't want to call it supernatural, but taking it out of sort of the realm of complicated questions of quantum physics and that sort of thing. Just looking at sort of very basic, explicit examples just in recent history where you've had movements or organizations or competing ideologies that are trying to even redefine or revise basic tenets of American history, for example. I mean, I think that the controversy, for instance, around the 1619 Project and sort of the backlash in response to that is a great example of, if those folks on whatever side believe in their heart of hearts, or even if they don't sincerely believe it, they believe it is for a greater good, that others believe it. And they will try to create a reality that is very probably not based in what we would call or identify as objective truth. And I think that that is, one of the most important things. And if I could put maybe a positive spin on the existence of the internet and kind of the direction the internet has gone, is that at least there is, I think, more information out there. As much as I lament social media and the effect that it's had on sort of the collective human psyche, at least with the internet as it exists today, there is an almost unlimited ability for people to access primary sources and information so that they can acquire something approaching, if they work hard enough, a perception of objective reality. And so at least that's there. Whereas, as you reference, even 30 or 40 years ago, the gatekeeping function of mass media was so powerful and so, I don't want to call it an oligarchy, but it was so all-encompassing that basically whatever they gave us was what we had to kind of deal with. And as you said, if a newspaper made a mistake and it was the paper of record in your given town, or if it was a national paper, the average consumer of that information, whether the mistake was intentional or simply an error, the average consumer of that information may not have been, I don't want to say savvy enough, but it may not have crossed their mind that there could be a mistake or that there could be bias. And I think that one thing certainly that has become apparent, and everybody on all sides understands today, is that these biases seep into presentation of information, news, even history. And we all have to kind of navigate that and think about what lens these people are who are giving us the information are sort of siphoning the information through.
Let me ask you a question, because I have a feeling like you're gonna have something to say about this. Are you familiar with the Tartaria myth?
I
Tartaria?
am not. So
Okay. Okay. So it's an exploding. It's not really an emergent conspiracy, but it's gaining a lot of steam. And the general theory is, and this part is true. If you look at super old maps, there is a country called Tartaria. And we have limited records of it, but the people who proclaim this theory, and there's some pretty high profile people that claim it. I forget the name of the book. It was a Russian mathematician that went through all these original transcripts, and his contention was that we lost 1,000 years. That basically the Dark Ages did not exist, and they were added to the timeline to erase
Yes.
this Tartarian empire. Do you think that? I guess I don't know. The thing that struck me about it is, do you think that happens regularly, or do you think that's happening more now because there is, I don't know. I don't even really know how to frame my question per se, but it's
Like, how
kind of
much
a,
lost history is there?
or yeah, I guess I don't even know. I mean, it's like I don't know what to make of that story. I don't think it's real. But the country certainly existed at some point. You know.
So it's a really interesting question. I'm not familiar with that name for it, but I am familiar with the conspiracy theory of the sort of the lost centuries in the Middle Ages related to this idea that I believe, if I recall, and apologies to anybody who's more of an expert on this than I am, but I think that one of the supposed origins of it is that I believe the Roman Empire wanted to, the Catholic Church and the Roman Empire wanted it to be the year 1000.
Correct.
And so, so they sort of accelerated time to just say, hey, it's the new millennium, whatever. So it's an interesting question, and I think about this a lot. It is, I think it is absolutely true that there are elements of history that, for whether it's for political reasons or whether it is for changing cultural mores, those elements of history fall by the wayside or are intentionally de-emphasized. And again, we think about these things a lot of times in the sense of, conspiratorial theories or shadowy, nefarious power brokers who want to push an agenda. And that may be true, but you don't even have to go that far to see examples of it. And I think that if you were to look at a history textbook from 1960 and compare its sort of recounting of the first half of the 20th century to a history textbook from 2000 or from 2025 and look at its recounting of the first half of the 20th century, you're going to probably be surprised at some of the differences in terms, or maybe not be surprised, but you'll certainly notice the differences between what's emphasized and what's not. So I definitely think that there is sort of a reshuffling based on, again, the contemporary lens through which we look backward to those sorts of questions. But I also think, and this is the thing that always sort of comes up in a recurring way when I think about this, I think we also overestimate our own capacity for sort of remembering everything, or not just remembering everything in sort of a rote memorization way, but just prioritizing things when we think back about history. For starters, you all are obviously very thoughtful and think a great deal about this. Most of the people watching the show are probably in that same category. But there are a whole bunch of people, good-hearted, well-meaning, productive members of society who don't think about this stuff at all. They are focused on their families, their careers, their hobbies, whatever the case may be. The biggest block in American politics are people who are disengaged from politics. And so I think that likewise, with a lot of this stuff, it is a byproduct of the fact that we only have so much, RAM, so to speak, or so much space on the hard drive. And I think a lot of the things that are that sort of get forgotten are forgotten. Yes, there's an element of sort of agendas and things like that, but I also think it's just a byproduct of what endures. It sort of depends on where we go as a culture and what is important to us, moving forward. I mean, there are, I wish I could think of a concrete example for you, but there are people who I think, even just taking it like in the realm of celebrity and pop culture, I think there are people who were incredibly important in a certain decade or era. And then you jump ahead 20 years and those people are forgotten. And it's not because there was a campaign to suppress the work of those people. It's not because there was some other externality that created that. It's that because tastes changed or interests changed or cultural values and priorities changed. And I think the same thing happens when you talk about history and politics, especially when you look at a time of, a long timeline, talking about centuries or millennia. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think you're right too. But I think the thing that's so odd to me is like I'm a big Atlantis fan, and the fun thing about Atlantis is like you're kind of piecing together all of these different dug up artifacts across the world, and there's all kinds of fun things with fortune tellers or whatever. But the Tartaria thing, and I just looked it up. It appears on 7 ancient maps as early as 1570, and it's like a huge chunk of Asia bordering into Russia, and then it just disappears. It just disappears from the maps, and my gut tells me it's not real, but like the maps are certainly real. The ancient maps are certainly real. And so it's a weird idea that it's kind of in the Mandela realm of like, did we just like remove an entire empire from.
Well, also, like, things get renamed is the other thing.
But
But
if you do like a cursory search, people say Tartaria wasn't real. It's just weird. It's just like a weird thing. It's supposed to be connected to like the Mongols, like Genghis Khan and stuff. It's supposed to be like a Chinese adjacent empire. All of it is just so weird.
Yeah, it is. I've definitely heard of the Tartars before, but I'm not familiar with sort of the specific aspect of it that you're talking about, where it exists on maps and then suddenly it vanishes. But yeah, I do think about that a lot. And to go back to your point about Atlantis, it's very interesting. I mean, I'm sure again the listeners of this show are probably well familiar with this, but in much the same way that Atlantis is treated as sort of a mythological type thing. It's something from a story that didn't literally exist, as I'm sure you all know. Troy was sort of the same thing, and for years and years the idea was, oh, this is just a thing from a story that wasn't literally real, and then of course they found it, and so everything changed. And I do think, I mean, it's one thing that I do know a little bit about is we have this perception, especially now in a digital age where we think, well, we have more storage capacity than we've ever had to store data, information, et cetera. And, certainly that, as far as we know anyway, that is true. But just when you do talk about hundreds of years of time, or much less thousands of years of time, if you want to go back to things like the pyramids and the Egyptians and Atlantis and so on, just the effects of weather, climate, earthquakes, etc., over that course of time is sort of a natural eraser of a lot of information, history, and so on. Much less conquest. People who conquered peoples, how much of their history survives, etc. To your point, Tartaria, again, knowing nothing about it before 5 minutes ago, my first thought would be, at some point, did they lose a critical battle that helped to erase them from history or de-emphasize them from history? So there are all these different forces that sort of help to do that.
Yeah, their primary claim is not that crazy. It's basically, that is their primary claim, is that it was real and it was essentially erased from the history books through conquest. That's kind of their claim. It's just an odd thing, because it really has like totally been removed from memory.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, again, when you're talking about sort of these concepts of the Mandela effect and things that we perceive as reality or not reality, or competing versions of reality, so to speak, I think that there are, especially if you're talking about over the course of history, I think there are a lot of different factors that go into sort of what evidence do we have that persists, that survives into the future, and that of course does affect our perception of what reality is and what information we have available to kind of craft that understanding. So,
well, we have another caller, so we're gonna have to get off.
Okay,
but thank you for calling. This was
absolutely
incredible.
Thank you so much. I just want to say one thing real quick, Catherine. You are among my all-time favorite writers of any medium ever. I really enjoy your work.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and thank you so much for calling and for the compliment. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good night.
Night.
What a nice compliment.
Yeah. Sorry if I've been making faces. I feel the babies like moving around. Since there's two of them, they have more surface area to cause issues.
That dude rocked. That dude was really interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. You were on the air, by the way.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Sorry for the wait.
I'm doing great, man. I got to drive to a baby shower tomorrow. My cousin, they just gave birth to a baby boy, and he was born like 3 months early, but I think he's healthy and doing all right now.
Congratulations.
That's great.
but I was going to tell a story about my experience with the Mandela Effect, and maybe if I can manage to remember some of my other ideas from these disorganized notes. Talk about time travel and stuff as well, but I'll just try to get this psychedelic story out. The only 2 times that I tried LSD, both times were at the first time was with the fall equinox. It was when it was turning from fall to winter. And then the second time, it was the going from winter to spring. And I didn't do this intentionally at all. So like with the first one, hold on. With the first one, it wasn't exactly on the equinox, but it was when all the leaves fell from the trees. Like there was a windstorm that came through our neck of the woods this night that I tripped for the first time. And it was really weird because the leaves on the trees were green before I tripped, in the afternoon. And then I tripped all night. And then in the morning, there were like barely any leaves left on any of the trees anywhere. I drove around like this 30-minute radius, like looking at all the different trees and forests. And like any leaves that were left, they had turned orange, like completely orange. So it was like there was a lot of green left in them. And like now they're like gone or like completely orange. And it didn't suddenly get cold or anything. It was just a windstorm, like some Wizard of Oz shit. And I remember walking around the woods with like a group of 10 people, and a few of us were tripping, and we were running away from this pack of coyotes and stuff. But that was all at night. And like we were just walking around the woods all night. Like I bet we were opening a portal. And then the next day, the leaves and the trees, they like really fucking confused me. And I actually have photo evidence too. I took a picture. I have a picture from like a day before the trip. And then I took a picture of the trees when I entered the new universe.
Do you think you slipped
they were all
timelines or slipped time? Like, did you lose time, or you just slipped into a different timeline?
I think it just slipped into a different timeline or different plane, kind of like Shrek 2. You've seen Shrek 2?
Yeah.
And it's the same story with the second time I tried LSD, which was, again, it wasn't on exactly the equinox. I don't even know what day that is. But, the trees in the winter here, they don't have any buds on them. They're just like bare branches. It's in Ohio. Well, I was doing this in Ohio both times, first and second time. And this was in 2019. So I'm just like thinking about the vibe shifts of that era, but like not like I'm going to talk about the trees. So like, again, I'm tripping all night at a different location, kind of close to the other one, but same trees and stuff. And it's like when I woke up in the morning, me and my friend were driving around, and it's like we were in Pixie Land, and there was like these tiny leaves on all the trees, and like they had all sprouted. It was like everything was green. And the day before, all the trees were bare. Like I didn't notice any buds really. I mean, there would have definitely been buds there, or not if I fucking skipped timelines again by taking LSD.
Yeah. Well, all roads lead to Ohio.
Really,
Ohio is
What
conspiracy. All conspiracies lead to Ohio. There's like a ton of conspiracies that come back to Ohio.
I know there's this podcast hosted in Ohio, the Haunted Objects podcast.
Oh, I listen to that sometimes.
Put me onto that.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
But yeah, that was my story. I mean,
did you notice anything else Did you come back and your like girlfriend has a different color eyes or something?
I was so disoriented and paranoid and like had PTSD.
So it was troubling to you.
It was like really troubling. Like on the second trip, for at least a few days, I believed that I didn't have a soul anymore.
That's
Because my
concerning.
friend during the trip, he told me that he watched my soul like walk out of my body. He was also tripping. So like I got
Did you
really
feel this before or after he mentioned it? Like, do you think he planted this idea in your head, or like you really, like he noticed something real?
I didn't know. I think he was just messing with me. I think he planted the idea. But I
Okay.
mean, it seems like an odd thing to point out. Like we were just like watching TV in the basement, and then like his reaction seemed kind of realistic. And I was just thinking about that, and like I just remember like my thoughts were spiraling for hours. Like it became really existential as my mind opened up to whatever the drug was opening my mind up to. I also believe my friend was like channeling this entity that was fucking with me.
Have you ever taken salvia?
No, but I've also but I've tripped on DMT before. Not DMT, DXM. It wasn't even intentional. It's like a whole different story.
I was gonna say, the one similar experience I've had, when I was a freshman in college, I would trip on DXM. I think I did it a lot when I was a teenager, like at home. But then I tried it my freshman year of college and it 3 times. And like the third time, the girl I was with, I was like, she's a demon. Like I see a demon within her. She also was like insisting on playing like the worst music. Who was that like scary rap group that was like horror rap? No, they were like actually really scary. From like I don't know, this must have been like 2011. So they were like contemporary to that. I have pregnancy brain, so all my memories are gone. But she insisted on playing that and then like a mix of that and Eminem, and it just was not the vibe. Like you should listen to like Ravi Shankar and be chill, And I was like, oh, there's a monster here. I was so scared. I was just so scared.
Oh my god, bro.
I've heard that when people take salvia, they like lose total track of time, and they'll feel like they're in it for 20 years, and they're living as like a bucket and stuff.
Well, that's what happened to me when I took DXM. I mean, I'll try to summarize it real quick. Like, I actually took a normal dose of NyQuil, but my body was in this really weird state where it was able to paradoxically metabolize the ingredients of this small dose, and it like all went straight to my amygdala, and it went straight to my metabolism or whatever, and my metabolism was so fucked up that I tripped on DXM because there's DXM in NyQuil. So it gave me this night terror, but like it gave me all the symptoms of a DXM trip, like having your heart rate stuck at an elevated level and it like won't come down for a long time. Like my heart rate was stuck at 180 beats per minute for like 30 minutes after I woke up.
Sounds like you're allergic to it.
Really, yeah, like it might be an allergy or something. I'm trying. Where was I going with that? Like, oh, like I've been on Arrowhead, the website Arrowhead, where they have all the trip reports, and that's
Yeah.
that's what this one trip report said. That's how I learned this. That it's like, oh, that was the DXM that was causing me to trip. There's also doxylamine, which is like, it's like a diphenhydramine, which is Benadryl. So it's like you basically have Benadryl and DXM in NyQuil, and I think both of those two things were probably causing the trip. But the trip,
that makes you fall asleep, and it takes away nausea. That's very
recreational Benadryl is like one of the best subreddits that you can go on.
I tried it once in I was like too old to have tried it. I'm not even gonna say how old I was, I was like, I fucked up. I'm gonna die.
I've heard it's horrid. I've heard it's like a horrifying experience. How many milligrams did you take?
I don't remember. I mean, this was like 10 years ago.
That
just gave away
subreddit
how old I
cracks
was.
me up. It's like it's just nightmare fuel.
Someone put in the chat robo
Yeah.
tripping.
During my DXM/Benadryl trip, I experienced 130 years of subjective time in the course of 1 hour.
Every time somebody talks about salvia, that's how they describe it. They're like, I was a pencil for 7 lifetimes.
I was in, I don't know, I don't even, I see, like, this is, I'm starting to get into like the time travel shit, and I can't even think about it. Like, my notes are so disorganized. Like, I tried to like prepare for this call, but like I still have some PTSD from this. It's like my brain like blocks it off. Like, I
Really?
almost can't even think about it. Yeah.
What about it was so frightening? Just the amount of time?
Yeah, just like yeah, like I was in this dimension for 130 years,
It's a long time.
at the whim of like these few different entities. It was like, you know, in SpongeBob when Squidward and SpongeBob and Patrick, they go on the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
And then he unzips the dimension and like Squidward falls into it. Like that's what was happening to me.
Yeah.
But it was like 130 years of that.
How did you come to 130 years? You could feel it?
Just when I woke up, it's just one of the delusional like ideas that I had just upon waking from this. But it's like I had memory. I feel like I did have the memory of that kind of time. Yeah, like.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you
kinds of-
think you actually spent that time there? Or do you think it was just your brain malfunctioning? What does your gut
It's
say?
probably just my brain. It's probably just my brain not functioning. Like I'm not that experienced with other psychedelics to really like compare it. And I haven't studied neuroscience or cognitive science enough to really know exactly like how you can induce that kind of state. But that kind of mind control is like one of the most interesting things to me. Like, I'm sure the Nazis figured out how to make people time travel in their own brains like that.
Well, you know what's interesting is I am not convinced that there is a firm separation between, like, if you asked any scientist, they'd be like, "Oh, is your brain malfunctioning?" But there's all these weird studies. People who think they're lucky are more lucky, statistically, like measurably, outside of a coincidence, more lucky. And I think that your thoughts and the way you treat your body and what you put into your body, I think we are rubbing up against something that is like a superstructure or a realm or something. I'm not convinced that, not to freak you out, but like I think a lot of that stuff is more real than we would like to imagine, and maybe not in the way that we think of it, not in a like knock on the table real, but there is something. I think there is a kind of a magical superstructure that you can interact with in some capacity.
I know how to induce the kind of PTSD that brings the memories back. I also remember like nightmares from the past when I take apple cider vinegar pills and I fast and I stop eating. It like puts my body in full ketosis, and like when I'm in ketosis, it like unlocks my brain and I can think about these memories of that realm. Where like the fear is present, but also it's like I can understand. It's like the psychic sensor is turned off.
I love fasting for that same reason.
Yeah.
I feel sharp. I feel light.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So like supplements and fasting and just like different things. Oh, like an insane combo for supplements is eating walnuts, just like raw walnuts, and then apple cider vinegar in powder form.
Why?
Just because the apple cider, it puts you in ketosis, like whether you're really fasting or not. Like Like you could just be eating normally and it's going to like try to force you into ketosis because of what it does to your metabolism. And then the walnuts, like if you just eat a shit ton of walnuts, like multiple handfuls, it's just like it's a lot of omega-3s. So it's like like you're not fasting if you're eating walnuts. I've done like OMAD diets where, you only eat one type of food during the day. Like you're basically fasting, but you're eating only one type of food. And like that's like if I need to think about something, walnuts.
That's good to know.
I do OMAD year round. I do 1 meal a day all the time.
Holy shit,
I'm like,
man.
Yeah.
I'm in biological prison right now. I actually think that we might have to wrap up soon because I'm in so much pain. So
Really?
I can't even, I need to lie down. Being
Well, caller,
alone is
thank you
hard.
for calling.
Thank you guys for having this show, man. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Have a good
Appreciate
night,
it.
guys.
You too.
Good night.
Have you ever heard, this will be the last story and then we jump off. Have you ever heard the man from Tarid, the story of the man from Tarid?
Oh yeah.
That's
That-
the best Mandela Effect. For those who are unaware, and you can go read the story online, it's called The Man from Tarid. In 1954, there was a man who landed in a Japanese airport. I think it was an airport, but they had to check his passport. And he was from a country called Tarid that does not exist. And he was adamant that it was real and he had just flown there for business meetings. The people at the airport go and see who he had meetings with. Yeah, there he is. Who he had meetings with, and they had never heard of him. He was adamant that he was at their offices. They thought he was some sort of criminal there to do something illegal, so they put him up in a hotel, and they locked him inside of this room. It was like some sort of military grade hotel where they lock him in. They're like, "We're going to keep you here for the night." And when they came back in the morning, he was gone, as the story goes. But that's my favorite Mandela Effect story.
There's a lot of stories like that. I think maybe next week we should do like disappearances.
There's a whole book of those stories of like people that are supposed to be from someplace else. There's that famous, I'll have to look it up before next week, but one of the most famous UFO cases out of China, on 3 separate occasions. He was like, this is a long time ago, 3 separate occasions. He's like a farmer in the middle of nowhere, and they keep finding him like in the city, like overnight. He's on his farm, goes to bed, he wakes up, he's in the city. And this happens like 3 separate times. And he has no explanation as to what happened. You can go like read the stories about it. He doesn't know how, because even at the time, it would have taken him more time to get to the city than he could have done in one night. And it's one of the most famous UFO abduction cases of all time. The guy doesn't remember anything about UFOs or aliens or anything, but he was to be transported to this other city hundreds of miles away, which is interesting.
Wow.
Um,
There's one more thing I wanted to bring up that was adjacent, but I'll do it really quickly because I'm like dying. Long and the short of it is something I feel like I've heard and read a lot. It's like people remembering like the moment they became conscious. So not like early memories, like like the first thing I remember was like I was 3 years old watching Disney movies or whatever. But like people who are like, yeah, I have like early memories, and then I have like another memory of like me entering this body,
really?
which is yeah, and I have a memory like that myself, where it's like I felt something change. Like I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, there's something different.
Really?
But yeah, but a lot of people have this experience. But more on that next week. We're not even gonna get a song tonight, folks. I'm just gonna shut everything down. Good night.